What up, nation? Welcome to another edition of the WiseTake NBA DFS Early Look. CK013 here. You can find me on Twitter at CK_013. And I have a question from the WiseTake Nation, which you can find on all the social media platforms listed below, or directly at wisetake.com if you're looking to take your DFS game to the next level. We are a premium DFS content provider as well as a DFS community designed to help make you a better DFS player. Here we are. Another preseason slate, NBA season, a regular season starting right around the corner. We're winding down on NFL a little bit towards the regular season. Obviously, there's still plenty of football left for us when you include the Saturday slates, the showdown slates, all that good shit. And we're just getting started in basketball. We're literally, I think, the 22nd, I think, is the opening date for basketball regular season. If you're new to the channel, welcome. We do all kinds of free DFS content here on YouTube and Twitch, so please subscribe, follow, whatever it is you're watching on. Notifications bell on so you don't miss out when we do go live. And hit the like button. The likes go a long way. You guys really responded yesterday. I had gotten on you a little bit about not hitting the likes, and y'all hit it for me, and I appreciate it. But we got to do it again. It's got to be a consistent thing. It's got to be consistent like anything else in life. So we have a few teams that are playing their last preseason games. We don't know necessarily if every team is going to treat it as a dress rehearsal. I would assume that they would want to, being as how I think a lot of teams haven't really had an opportunity to even really show what they're going to look like during the regular season. And some guys has injuries and just hadn't had enough time, COVID, so it is what it is. But we have a 7-game slate today, so there's a lot to choose from. So it's a little different from the last 2 slates we had. We have to be able to decipher. I think ownership is going to come into play a little bit here. Not as much maybe because it won't be as concentrated, but making the right pivots obviously is pretty big. And I'll kind of explain more what I mean as we get into it, which we are going to do right now. We're going to start off with the Charlotte side. Pull up my notes. So this is the third of 4 preseason games for the Hornets. So they do have one more game left. In game 1, despite saying they were going to stick a tight 10 to 12 man rotation, they really haven't played their guys a ton. In game 1, the starters played anywhere from 19 to 20 minutes. Game 2, 22 to 24. So it was an increase. I would expect another increase. We have Gordon Hayward out today, so we should expect the usage to increase for the starters. We should also expect someone else to get some starting minutes. I think it's probably going to be Miles Bridges, but we don't know that for sure. We're going to have to keep an eye on that. Even with Charlotte at this point, like there's really nothing here. Maybe their guys play extra minutes, but I really haven't liked the pace they've played at. The pace they played at. I really haven't liked where the guards have been. They've been really like Graham and Rozier. Now that we have LaMelo Ball there, it's kind of getting different. And I know that the coach for the Hornets had said he didn't want to be as reliant on Devontae Graham this season. They said he felt like last year their wins and losses all depended on whether or not Graham was having a good day or not. So we've kind of seen it a little bit, but I don't want to judge too early, especially with Gordon now. Maybe we see that change. Maybe we see Devontae Graham and these guys step it up a little bit. But I think my favorite at the moment, and favorite as in safety, not ceiling, is probably going to be PJ Washington, who his usage has looked good, man. Solid mid-20s. Not bad. We know they want to play him at the 5 a lot this year and the 4, so we should see some swing time. And if they have to bring Bridges into the starting lineup, I think they may rely on Washington to play a little bit more. I don't mind Bridges either if he does start. If he doesn't start, you get worried about the minutes. But in general, I mean, I think Rozier's price is interesting, Graham, but I think they're just nothing but tournament plays. I really don't see anything here that's cash-worthy. If LaMelo Ball were to start, I'm not sure if that would be better for LaMelo Ball. There's been rumors that he may start, and it just gets a little crowded with Graham, Rozier, Ball. I would prefer him to stick on a second unit. Maybe he does get a little bit more run today. At 4,800, I don't mind taking a shot, but again, it is a bigger slate, so we need to be open-minded as we go through this. On the Orlando side, Orlando playing 3rd of 4 also, so they do have one more after this. They've been pretty aggressive with their guys, everybody except for Aaron Gordon. So in the first game, Vooch, Fultz, Fournier, Michael Carter-Williams all saw 25 minutes. Gordon saw 16. In the second game, Vooch played 33 minutes. Fultz played 31. Fournier 28. Michael Carter-Williams 29. Aaron Gordon 19. So do we see an increase in game 3? Or I shouldn't say an increase for a lot of these guys. At best, we should expect them to sustain that. Do we see another 30 minutes for guys like Vooch and Fultz and all these? Do we see them get scaled back? because they have one more coming up on deck. We're going to have to follow along with the news. I do think Aaron Gordon's lack of playtime is kind of interesting, because you're going to think that at some point, especially being that Isaac's been banged up, they don't have Aminu, you would think at some point when the season comes, they're going to want Gordon to get in some kind of shape. And he's only 6'6", so I think in tournaments, he's the most interesting. In cash games, I think Vooch looks like a pretty solid option. Again, there's no guarantee that these guys play those minutes. Again, but they've been pretty aggressive. It looks like they're trying to get their guys in the game shape, so I think they will play their guys, at least what they saw. I mean, minimum, I would say somewhere around the 28-29 minute mark. And Vooch at 8K against a Charlotte team that's struggled against bigs for a while, and we expect them to struggle this year. Looks like a pretty good buy as far as the studs go. I also like Michael Carter-Williams. He seems to be more solidified in his role. We saw DJ Augustine last year. He had a pretty decent role in this team, and it looks like Carter-Williams is kind of sliding and taking over that role. At 4'7", he has shown some decent point per minute averages. So I think he's an interesting guard play as well. Especially, and that's what I even mean with LaMelo. I could see a lot of people, LaMelo's only $100 more at DraftKings. I could see a lot of people kind of levitate towards him. But I'm, again, be open-minded for tournaments. So Michael Carter-Williams in a tournament setting. I will check the status on Ross, who's questionable. James Enos is questionable. So still some news to wait for. But the Magic look like they should be somewhat popular, at least Vooch. I expect Vooch to be pretty popular. And I think it makes sense. Detroit. So the Pistons are also playing their third preseason game of 4, so they have one more left. In the first game, Blake played 22, Hayes played 21, Okafor 20, Rose 18, Plumlee 21, Grant 22. Second game, Blake played 23. So 1 minute increase. Hayes played 25, 4-minute increase. There's been some speculation, or at least some rumors that, or I think Hayes actually may have said that he can't, that he wasn't in, he's not in shape right now, or whatever. I don't know. Maybe he's got tired legs. Okafor 18, Plumlee 22. So Plumlee stayed consistent. Okafor dropped a little bit, but not a ton of change. Now, at some point, you would think they're going to want to ramp it up. Maybe, again, they have one more left, so they could. I do think they ramp it up a little bit. And if they do, Blake Griffin's price at $5,300 seems a little too low, right? Again, he played 22 and 23 minutes. I would think maybe he gets to 24 at least, right? You would think they'd be likely to give him 1 or 2 minutes more than take it away at this point, since they haven't really pushed him. And the matchup is pretty good for a big against Washington. So I do like Blake Griffin at 5'3". Killian Hayes, I'm willing to go to. He said he's out of shape. Well, they got to get him in shape. So maybe they try to play him a little more and see what he can do. The usages look pretty good on the kid, but if he's got tired legs, struggling from shooting, whatever the case is, there's a lot we don't know. I will say that Sekou Doumbouya, so he didn't play much in the first game, but he played a lot in the second game, and he balled out at 4'3". So I would think that as of right now, he seems to be kind of on the outside looking in terms of like real rotation minutes. I know that they're high on that dude, or at least other people are in the NBA world in general. And I'm hearing like comparisons to Giannis, all this kind of shit. He's real young, but I don't know if they're quite ready to move that needle. It's to me, as far as correlation goes, if I'm in a setting, if I'm building teams, if I ever wanted to attack Detroit, and I'm like, all right, how am I going to approach this? I'm sticking with Blake if I'm thinking the starters get run, obviously. But if I'm like, I don't want to click Blake because I feel like he's only going to play 20 minutes, then I would think that means Doumbouya gets more run, because they do want to get him some time out there. I was surprised he didn't play as much in the first. But either way, Detroit's just not looking all that attractive in general outside of Blake for me. I mean, you can try Svi, but Killian Hayes and Blake, I think, are the mainstays. Rose, I mean, listen, we know the usage on Rose. We know he can score fantasy points. The issue is 5'9" for a player that they may want to play more during the regular season, but we know at any time he's been pushed to 30 minutes or more, he gets hurt. So I'm a little reluctant, and that's why we have him coming off they have him coming off the bench. I'm a little reluctant to believe that they're going to push him hard in the preseason. Washington's kind of a nasty spot, right? So Russell Westbrook is going to try to play. He's expected to play for the first time, but he's going to be limited. Bradley Beal's expected to play also, and I quote, "a few minutes, not a lot," was the quote. He didn't play in the first game. Davis Bertans got to camp late, so they say he's not in game shape. So if he does play, which I don't think he will, to be clear, I think it's gonna be limited. The rest of the starters played like 22 to 25 minutes in that first game. So with Westbrook and Beal coming back, it's not gonna have, I don't think, major implication on everyone. But even if they play 15 minutes, they're taking minutes away from someone else. We saw Raul Neto had a pretty good game in the preseason. Troy Brown is now priced up I expect him to have a more sizable role when those guys are out. But when they're back, I'm a little concerned. I still think, like, I highly doubt Beal and Westbrook play too much, right? We're talking, like, what, 15 minutes, maybe 20 max, first half type shit. So the second half is kind of wide open. We saw that yesterday, like, Harrell and the other dude from the Lakers, TNT, and Kuzma, they all kind of balled out in the second half. But I think that, like, Hachimura, if he plays, Hachimura's got some kind of eye injury. He was held out of practice. But if Hachimura were to play at 4,900, I thought the usage was fine. I expect him to be one of the guys because he is younger, to get a little extra run, get him ready for the season. He's been a little injury prone, so that would be my only expectation. But again, the Wizards starters played between 22 and 25. This is the second preseason game, but they only have 3. So at some point, you got to start getting people ready, right? And then the last guy is Bryant. I don't mind Bryant against Detroit. If we look at Detroit, they got Blake down there. They got Plumlee, Okafor. I don't expect Detroit to be very good against bigs. Bryant's not that big of a dude, but he is young. He may get some time. You can also roll the dice on Wagner. What I like the most about Bryant is I think his ownership will come in really low because I expect a lot of people to play Vooch. And if not him, there are a couple other centers that I think people will be itching to play. But not overly excited about Washington either. We will get to a couple teams. As a matter of fact, in the next game, I think we may have one potential one. But not overly excited about too many guys on the Washington team either. Moving over to San Antonio. We've got my notes here. Okay, this is the last preseason game for the Spurs. They've played 2 already. This is the last one. In Game 1, the starters saw between 24 and 25 minutes. In Game 2, LMA saw 24. Murray saw 25 again. But DeRozan saw 19, and Gay saw 21, which were decreases. That being said, Devin Vassell, I think his name is, or Vassell, I don't know. He's their first-round pick. He played 24 minutes in Game 1 and 32 minutes in Game 2. So they've been letting him ball out. That's the dude that Paulie was talking about on our pre-lock show, the Y stream, which, by the way, appreciate those of you tuning into this one. But if you're looking to continue for $2.50, you can get access to a day pass at WiseTake.com to try us out. You'll get access to Paulie's NBA DFS Fast Break for the preseason, which is a quick sheet. He gives you a cash core, GPP core, a little player pool up top, his alpha play of the day, his bust of the day, some really good shit. And you'll get our pre-lock show that we do. We do a stream 45 minutes prior to lock. We go down over the slate with some final thoughts, and then we wait for kind of news. If there's questions, we answer questions. So day pass, $2.50, wisetake.com. Anyway, so again, mind you, this is being streamed at 11:02 a.m. currently. So we are still waiting for some news. But the final preseason game for the Spurs, we don't necessarily know if it's going to be a full dress rehearsal. I would think it will be. I really would. I would think they're going to try to play their guys a little bit more. I like DeJounte Murray. I think you can look to play some of these guys in cash, but you are making the assumption, of course, that these guys will play. DeRozan at 6'8" seems a little cheap. I know in the preseason I haven't been all that impressed, but 6'8" seems a little cheap. If Rudy Gay continues to start and we think he's going to get close to 30 minutes, Rudy Gay at 5K seems like a solid play. I mean, he's been pretty good, I think, throughout the whole preseason. I'm actually going to check real quick. I'm curious what his usage rate has been. I looked at it last night, but I try to prepare the night before. I wake up, got shit I got to do around the house and all this, and then I try to, work out all that shit, and then come here and do the dirty with y'all. Rudy Gay. Yeah, so Rudy Gay's put up 24 and 27 DraftKings points, 26 minutes, 21 minutes, 21 and 18 has been his usage rate. So it's not like awesome, but his rebounds have been there because I think he's playing and he's just got more opportunities. So I do like Rudy Gay at 5K. I mean, he finished with 27 and 21 minutes against the Rockets last time. We're talking about, like, at 5K, what is he? He was literally 2.5 points from giving us 6X. And we anticipate the full dress rehearsal type deal. DeRozan only 6'8", definitely something that stands out. But DeRozan's usage has been horrible. I don't know if it's because of Gay's in the starting lineup or Murray is kind of emerging or whatever. It's not been LMA, I could tell you that. He's not looked good. But DeRozan just hasn't done a whole ton. His usage rate's 20 and 15. This is not DeRozan-ish, or DeRozan-esque, I guess. But he is 6'8". That's a cheaper price than we're accustomed to. If we saw DeRozan 6'8" during the regular season, we'd probably be jumping all over that. Aldridge is another one, 6'4", right? Like, these guys all feel like cash game type plays because we're concerned about the ceilings, but we do feel like based off their price, we're getting something. In a situation where we expect these guys to play, we expect them to. Doesn't mean they will. Now, LMA's usage has looked decent. 30.6 in the first game, 23.5 in the second game. His minutes have been consistent, 24 to 25. He just hasn't really produced with the minutes and with the usage. He took 16 shots in the first game, but only made, 5 of them? 5 for 16. It is worth noting in that first game, he took 10 threes. LMA took 10 threes, so I guess that's something he's been trying to incorporate. He took another 4 in the next. Now he's 3 for 10 and 1 for 4, so he's not necessarily lighting it up from 3, but he is taking some, which I think is something to keep in mind going forward. I saw fucking Drummond shooting 3 against the Knicks yesterday. But yeah, I mean, like I said, this is the first team we have here that could be looking at a full dress rehearsal. This is the last preseason game for them. I think DeJounte Murray is probably my favorite at the moment, but it's interesting that Murray, or I should probably say Rudy Gay is my favorite. Rudy Gay is probably my favorite, then Murray, then LMA, then DeRozan. But I'll plan on getting some exposure to these guys, and we'll go a little deeper into them in the live stream later once we've got some news and we can see the slate as the whole thing that it is. So James Harden, man, I see all the memes about Harden, man, looking all fat and shit. I don't know. When I watched the highlights, he didn't look really that fat. I don't know. But I saw the pictures. I don't know. I mean, people could do shit with Photoshop and cameras could lie sometimes. I don't know. I really don't know. But Harden is 9-1. I don't know how popular he'll be. He got 21 minutes in the last game, right? What do we have here? This is the last preseason game for the Rockets also. They played 3 games already. So, I don't know. Harden played, 21? So curious to see what he does in this one. We know he's not happy. He has said that while he's here, he's going to play his hardest. But we know he's unhappy here. Doesn't want to play. And on top of that, he probably pissed all his teammates off because, I mean, how do you think? You go somewhere, you got Boogie, you got Wall, 2 guys who are trying to, who are happy to be there because they're really trying to, show that they could still ball. And then you got James Harden basically saying he don't want to play with you. And I know that, I don't think he means it in that way towards those players. I think he means it towards the organization. I think he's frustrated with the organization. But still, the players are a part of that organization. So I could see them taking things, the wrong way. But I would expect Harden to be somewhat eased in. So he played 21. Maybe he gets 25, 26, which he could do a lot in that time. Good. But I'm a little concerned that this team just looks a little too different with Boogie there, with, these are guys that need the ball. Christian Wood is questionable. We'll see if he makes his return. He has not played yet. But we'll see if the Rockets use this. They have a new coach. We don't really know. We'll see if they use this as a final dress rehearsal. I do like John Wall. I think that price is too low for John Wall, even with Harden there. And Wall, now granted, Wall has had more time to play than Harden. But Wall's usage rates have looked good through the 3. I know the production over the last 2 weren't all that great. But he's taken double-digit shots in all 3 games. He's played 19, 24, and 25 minutes. His usage rates were 26.8, 39.5, and even with Harden there, 31.8. So I do still like John Wall. I think he may come in a little lower owned if people are either going to Harden or they're just afraid to make that decision. We know Clemens is out for the year with a torn Achilles. Tough fucking break for that kid. But that's kind of where I'm at. If Christian Wood is out, I still like Boogie either way. But if Christian Wood's in, I do think that'll be an excuse for them not to play Boogie more than maybe we'd hoped they would. Looking at Cousins, he's played 15, 17, and 21 minutes, so they have gradually increased him. The usage looks good for the price that he is. So at 6,500, which really isn't bad at center. Say he gets another increase and he gets up to 24 minutes, which is reasonable. He went up 2 minutes and then he went up 4 minutes. So say he even gets to 24, it's only a 3-minute increase. And he maintains this low 20s, mid 20s usage. And mind you, he is a big, so he's going to get rebounds, right? He only had 5 rebounds in the first game in 15 minutes, though. He had 6 rebounds in 17 minutes. He had 11 rebounds, 21 minutes against the Spurs. This exact team, who we know is not good against big. So I do have interest in Boogie Cousins. I think in all formats he's playable, but tournaments is obviously where we like him the most. Bruno is going to be dependent on Wood. If Wood plays, it's really tough they got to get him some time. It's tough to see where Bruno fits in. If Wood is out, you would expect Bruno to pick up most of the minutes at least that Cousins doesn't. But I think John Wall and Boogie, man, I think that's, this game in general is a game stack. It has game stack potential because we know they're both playing their final preseason game. Something to take into account. Moving on to Atlanta and Memphis. The Hawks will play their third or fourth, so they have one more left. Trae Young in game 1 played 22. Collins played 22. Capella played 20. Bogdanovich played 23. Gallo played 20. In game 2, they did ramp everybody up. Young saw 32. Collins saw 29. Capella played 27. Huerter played 32. Bogdanovich 27. DeAndre Hunter played 30. Gallo. So they pretty much played their guys. I would think they do it again. We don't know for sure. They do have one more after this. So maybe they use that one. But Atlanta's one of those teams that hasn't played in a while. So I think they're eager to get their guys in shape. And I think they're eager to, get this new team to kind of gel together. That being said, I absolutely like Trae Young. Memphis last year was one of the worst teams in the league against point guards. Both of these teams last year played fast. So I do like it. Matter of fact, I'm going to check what the total is on this. 224.5. So it's not like there are other games that are up there also. It's not the highest. They're all pretty similar, but I do expect this game to play at a fast pace, at least while the starters are in. Rondo's doubtful. Chris Dunn is still out. Those are the two players they plan on playing at guard. Huerter's questionable, but keep an eye on that. Bogdanovich at 4.8 seems really cheap. Again, we have no guarantees. There's one more game after this. Maybe they decide to go easier and then go harder on the fourth. But Bogdanovich at 4.8 just seems really, really cheap. We mentioned Hunter. Has potential to get big minutes. Gallinari at 5'9", I think, is definitely in play. We just don't know where he fits in all this. John Collins, again. So another game, stackable type game. It's not the same as the San Antonio Houston where it's final dress rehearsal type shit. But it's still, you got a team that has not played in a long time. I think, really, I guess two of them that haven't played in a long time. And they happen to play at a fast pace. So this game in general could carry lower ownership than maybe the San Antonio Houston. I'm not positive. Again, it's early. We'll have to kind of feel out the slate as we go. But there's definitely some viable plays, and I think Trae Young is really where it starts with this team. Again, Bogdanovich I think is really cheap, but I think Trae Young is where it starts, and then of course Collins. Capella's questionable. I expect him to play. Okay, he's probable. They already said he's probable. I don't mind him either at 5.5 for the price, but we do have some good centers he's competing with today. On the Memphis side, pull up some notes real quick. Grizzlies will play their third or fourth, so they have one more left also. In game 1, Morant played 25, played 26 in game 2. Joval played 22, 24 in game 2. Brooks played 22, 25. So most of these guys, the main guys, got an increase by like 2 minutes or so. Maybe we see that trend continue. John Morant obviously has looked great. But we do, at these prices, we do want to start to see him, if we're going to pay that kind of tag, like start to get closer to that 30 range, you know? He's done really well with the usage, but he's shot really efficiently. So his usage rate has not actually been all that great. 22.6 and 20. That's fine, but for a player that expensive, it's not like you're not doing backflips trying to get him in. However, on a production scale, in the minutes he's played, he's balled out. 43.5 DraftKings points in 25 minutes, and then 40.75 in 26 minutes. Mind you, that was against Minnesota, a team that we don't expect to be very good defensively, right? But this is Atlanta. Similar situation. We don't really expect, Trae Young. He's great on offense. Defense, you know what I mean? So I think Morant's in play for tournaments. I think he'll be low owned, but it is hard to click there unless you have a ton of teams to work with. Jaren Jackson Jr. we expect to be out. Brandon Clark is questionable. That's something to keep an eye on. He's got a little groin injury. Even if he plays, it's hard to envision him playing a lot because he didn't play a lot during the season anyway last year, but like at once. So maybe Gorgie Dieng, the Gorgeous Dong, a.k.a. We can go back to. If Clark is out. If Clark is in, that's going to fuck him up a little bit. Joval, this is a smash spot for Joval. Another good center. We're loaded at center, which we often are, right? Center's just one of those positions. But we talked about Vooch already. This is a potential spot for a player like Joval, who we said did see an increase. Wasn't major, 2-minute increase. Played 24 minutes. 24 minutes. But if Clark is in, that could fuck Joval up a little bit. It helps having Jaren Jackson Jr. out. But yeah, 8,400 against. I think that they'll be a little bit better against bigs with Capella there, but they're still going to be bad against bigs. Let's be real. And it's not like Capella did a great job all the time for Houston. They still were bad against bigs when he was there. But he's not that huge, Capella. Either way, Joval, 8,400, I think is fine for tournaments. And I think there's potential for him to see, 22 and 24, maybe he's 26, which for him, that's typically what he played in general most nights. So we know he's got the upside at that. I'm curious, matter of fact, what is his usage rate Yeah, see, his usage rate is 23.6 in the first game, 31 in the second. So that kind of shows you why he was just taking it to Cat all day. All day. All right, so this next one is, as of right now, is probably my favorite game. And it's all speculation, right? It's me taking guesses at what I think people are going to do. But the Timberwolves and Dallas. We're going to start with Minnesota. Fill up some notes. Final preseason game for the T-Wolves. They've only played 2, but this is the last one. In game 1, Cat played 21. Beasley played 23. D'Angelo Russell played 23. Rubio played 12. In game 2, Cat played 27. Beasley played 22. Russell played 24. Rubio played 20. So Rubio saw a significant increase. They had him coming off the bench. D'Angelo Russell only saw a 1-point increase, and he is out today. He's already been ruled out. Beasley went down a minute, but I think with D'Lo out, that's going to help Beasley get back up. And then, of course, Cat saw a pretty good increase. So, being that this is the last game for them, and we have D'Angelo Russell missing, who's a pretty big usage piece, I would think like we have some value to work with right out the gate, right? So, Ricky Rubio at 4.7. If he doesn't start, I'll be nervous. If he starts, 4,700. He played 20 minutes in the last game. What does he see? Last preseason, they were at 22, 24. At 4.7, I'm interested, knowing that he's going to step in and play that point guard usage role and work with Cat, get some assists, all that good shit. I think it's better for Cat, too. We'll get to that. But I think one of the more rock-solid plays is Beasley, right? 4,500, you could play him at shooting guard or small forward. Wing against Dallas, I'm cool with that. We know Beasley likes to shoot. We saw when Beasley first came to this team last year, he was very trigger-happy. They seem to like him. 4,500 for a guy that I think is going to take a bunch of shots while he's on the court. Like, Rubio is not really a shooter, right? Like, he could score, but he's not really a shooter. Beasley's usage, 23.7, 24.2. So his usage rate is higher technically than John Morant. He took 11 and 10 shots. Just didn't really shoot well against Memphis. Now he's playing Dallas in a situation where it could be a final dress rehearsal. We could see them get... Now, he played 22 and 23. It's hard to envision him playing more than like 27 at this point. It's not like they've had a scale to ramp him up, right? But we could see him go out there for 30 minutes or so. And with that kind of usage at 45, it seems like a steal. So, yeah, Beasley, I'm pretty high on going into the slate. Sure. I guess the next would be Cat, right? Like, yeah, there's guys you can consider. You got Layman, who's been starting, and all these young guys. But, again, if this is final dress rehearsal status, we should be looking at the primary players. And I think Karl-Anthony Towns at 8,200 definitely, in my opinion, is considered a primary player. We've been seeing Dallas get beat up by bigs. Cat played 27 minutes in the last game, so I think he's the most likely to see over 30 minutes. I'm not talking about playing 30, but playing over 30. So I like Cat a ton. I think he's going to be lower owned than Vooch, at least by a little, so I think he's an interesting pivot from Vooch. And we talked about even Joval, so it could be interesting to see where people go with ownership. But Cat to me seems phenomenal. We've got D'Lo out. We know that usage is going away, and it's going to be replaced with, say, a Rubio in a starting lineup, for instance. He's not really a scorer, so he's a facilitator, a very good facilitator. But scoring is not always his main thing. Cat's usage has looked healthy. 34.9 in the first game, 27 in the second. And not for nothing, but Joval is not like the worst defending center on the planet. He is a big dude, you know. I think we've seen Dallas really kind of get manhandled down low, even with Powell back. Powell is playing limited minutes, of course. So, yeah, I don't think Dallas really has an answer for bigs, and I think Cat could really come in here and do dirty. So I do like Minnesota a lot. I like Beasley the most, Cat the second, and then I would prefer the starting lineup, man. I don't like playing Rubio off the bench, because if Rubio's coming off the bench with D'Lo out, that would tell me they don't plan on doing a whole ton different with him. If he were to start, then that would tell me, okay, they're going to see what Rubio does with these guys. I mean, that's just my opinion. But I like the Minnesota side a lot. Similar situation for Dallas. Final preseason game for the Mavs. They've played 2. Everyone played around 16 minutes in the first game. In the second game, they played around 28 to 29. Luka playing 29. This could also be a final dress rehearsal. They've got a phenomenal matchup as far as defensive efficiency goes. Minnesota, not a good defense. I love Luka, right? I love Luka because my nephew's name is Luka, and also love Luka on this particular slate. So $9K is expensive, but I think Luka's going to get, even if he gets 29, that's still fine for me to get. I'll take that as a discount to get Luka at $9K. So matchup is going to be phenomenal, right? Minnesota is bad against point guards no matter who you put in there right now with their team. D'Lo, not good at defender. Rubio, not a good defender. They don't really have an answer for this guy. So I do like Luka a lot. He's probably my favorite stud on the slate overall, like not positions, just like in general. And I plan on playing him. But unless I hear something, obviously it's early, guys. It's like 11:19 a.m. right now. So if we hear something a little different about how maybe Luka's going to be limited or they're going to be easy on the starters, then I'll let those of you in our Slack chat, I will let you know. Otherwise, we'll keep everybody updated on the pre-lock show at WiseTake.com. But assuming everything's copacetic, I do like him. I don't mind Jay Rich or Hardaway if you want to turn this into like a game stack. And here's the thing, like in the preseason, I'm not necessarily, it's not about game stacks to me. It's more about team stacks because I don't think that one team playing their starters has anything to do with the other team all the time. Maybe sometimes, but most of the time I don't think it does. Teams have their own game plan. They're going to do what they got to do. However, when I say team stacks, I don't mean the same as baseball where everybody's correlated. The correlation here in team stacks is the minutes. If such and such starter plays 30 minutes, it's likely that the other starters got something similar. Not always, but it's likely. And if you're right about that, you could end up with 3 or 4 players that play big time minutes. And in certain situations, if they're in good matchups and they play well, maybe they all return you the 6x value that we're looking for, or better, or whatever. But that's kind of where I'm at there. DFS is okay. These guys are all okay. I'm always reluctant to play Dallas. I will admit that some of these guys have played a little better and done a little bit more alongside Luka, but I'm always reluctant to play these other guys. It's just because you want Luka to just feast. You really do. So it's tough. But you could potentially turn this into one. I like Luka, and then I like stacking it back from the Minnesota side, personally. Not for correlation. Just happen to like that game. 2 good matchups. Where does that game? So that game has one of the higher totals. This game actually has the highest. It's a rematch. Golden State and the Kings, 226.5 total. We'll start with the Golden State side. So this is also the final preseason game for the Warriors. Curry played 21 minutes. They played 2 so far. So Curry played 21 minutes in the first, 26 in the second. Oubre 22 to 24. Wiggins 19 to 26. Paschal did play 23 minutes in game 1. He missed game 2. Will this be the full dress rehearsal for Golden State? I tend to think yes. I didn't think it will, which makes me think that Steph Curry is still too cheap. Now, 8,100 is more expensive than the 7-3 ridiculousness that we saw last time. But being this is the last preseason game, maybe we do see them running out there. There is potential, like we noticed that like Oubre didn't get a big bump, but Wiggins did. I think that Wiggins played a lot of 4, and that was one of the reasons. So Paschal status is going to be something we're going to want, obviously. I mean, if Paschal... Okay, that was Tuesday. If Paschal were to play, I think he's interesting at 5K. But Kelly Oubre, man, he disappointed me last time. I'd be willing to go back. He didn't really get a big minute increase, 22 to 24, but maybe he plays somewhere around 26 today, especially if Paschal's out, that I expect him to continue to get some run. But I do like him at 5'8". I expect him to get some minutes. Wiggins was impressive, but I think I only really want Wiggins if Paschal's out again, because I think Wiggins did play a lot of 4, and he benefited from that. And then it's funny because I think last time 2 days ago, we talked about this team. Initially, I liked Oubre more than Wiggins. Once we got to the pre-lock and I had realized he was going to play some 4 and all this, I did kind of switch it. I still had Oubre a lot, but I did raise up my Wiggins at that point, which was helpful. So another candidate for a team to play their guys, we saw Marquise Chris in 19 minutes just balled out. He's more expensive now, but he played extremely well. I would expect the same, assuming, especially if Paschal's out. I mean, even if Paschal's in, they really don't have. You got Kevon Looney, who you're not playing big minutes. Wiseman is still out. You've got Smolic, I can never say his name, Smolic, who missed the last game. But this is definitely another team to consider. I still think I slightly prefer the Minnesota-Dallas situation, but I do think this being the highest total game on the slate that we want to get at least some exposure. I haven't checked in the Slack. My bad. Haven't checked in the Slack. All right. We at. Please hit the like button. Those of you just joining us, just popped into the chat. Earth to Air, what up? What up, man? Good to see you. B Money at ATL Memphis game, the game to attack. It's one of them for sure, man. B Money it's one of them for sure. I personally kind of like this Minnesota Dallas game. I think the Golden State Sacramento game. Even the San Antonio Houston, just for the simple fact that it's the last preseason game for those teams also. But that's the 7 games, man. We had a lot of pretty good ones. All right. Uchi, highest upside play on FanDuel. Oh man, I would say I think it's gonna be Luka, to be honest with you. I think it's gonna be Luka. All right, let's go to the Sacramento side. So we got some things to discuss on the Sacramento side. Let's just go over the notes real quick. So the final preseason game for the Kings. They played 3 already. Game 1, Fox 26. Game 2, Fox 25. Game 3, Fox 24. So he's actually gone the wrong way. Barnes 29, 25, 26. He's gone the wrong way. Holmes 27, 26, 21. So like they're all kind of trending downwards. And this is the last one. So this could be the situation where they all do get most run. Let me just confirm. Oh, it's right. Yep, they've been trending the wrong way. Okay. I think this could end up being the final dress rehearsal for the Kings. They got to do it at some point. I mean, I don't think you're going to go into the regular season with a guy like Fox who you anticipate playing a ton, and the most he's played in the preseason game is 26 minutes. So I expect to see Fox play. I expect to see Hield play. Halliburton was limited to 15 minutes in the last game. They said it was for maintenance purposes, so maybe Halliburton being back would give them an excuse not to play Fox a ton. But I do think that maybe we see these guys get closer to regular game time minutes. So again, we'll follow the beat. Hopefully we have that information by the pre-lock Wise stream. We'll follow Kings beat reporter coverage is not great. But I think that we could see the Kings get some run. And what's interesting is on a 7-game slate, while the Kings were pretty popular in their last game on a 3-game slate, I don't think they're going to be a whole ton popular today. We've already talked about a ton of really good plays. So if Fox were to get 26 minutes, 7.5 is not a great price. If Fox were to get 30 minutes, 7.5 I think is a really good price. So I am interested in De'Aaron Fox. We'll start with that. Buddy Hield's price has really come up. It makes it kind of hard to get there. But the upside, the usage has looked really good. He's been one of the primary scorers, especially when Fox has struggled. Barnes is at 4,600, just seems a little bit too cheap. But what I really wanted to talk about was Marvin Bagley and Hassan Whiteside. And I see some of you in the chat were already asking questions about it. Marvin Bagley is 4,100, right? I think he played, 15 minutes? Let's take a look at this. Bagley is played 16 minutes. So Bagley played 16 minutes. He's 41. He was 5'7" that day. He's 4,100 today on DraftKings. They are just daring you. And he played 16 minutes. Maybe we see an increase. It could be a gradual increase. He's another one that's been dealing with a lot of injuries. So there's a lot of risk involved. He could only play 18 minutes. I think he plays more than the 16 he played, but it could only be 18 minutes. So not only has he been injury riddled, but he also got a late start to camp after testing positive for coronavirus. So he's a little behind. But I would think with the regular season starting, they're going to want to try to get him ramped up. So I think he sees more than 16. I think he maybe sees 20, maybe even a little bit more. And at 4,100 against Golden State, I just don't understand why 41. Make him 5K. Make it interesting, but 41. He looks pretty solid to me. Even if he got 20 minutes, 4-1 for Bagley, a player that has shown, and his usage rate was 21.6. Really wasn't bad for a guy that hasn't played in a long time. Hassan Whiteside, I'm pretty sure just like went out there and I think he got less minutes. Yeah, Whiteside had 15 minutes and went for 30 DraftKings. His price has also come down. 6'3" that day is 5'7" today. He's another one, 29% usage rate. He was 5 of 6 from the field. We know he's a low, he takes higher percentage shots. He had 9 total rebounds in 15 minutes against the same team, who I don't think is going to really have a ton of answers to correct that. Whiteside also looks like a pretty awesome tournament play. I say tournament play because we don't know what the minute expectation is for Bagley and for Whiteside. But the prices are really low relative to the upside. Now, maybe this is where we go instead of playing the wings and the guards. Maybe this is going to affect how De'Aaron Fox plays. But mind you, I still like Fox because I think Fox could be in for a full dress rehearsal while Whiteside and Bagley maybe get 20 minutes this time. So there's still going to be plenty of time on the court for Fox, if he is getting a full run, to be on the court without those guys. And it's got to help with assist numbers to have guys like that. Rayshawn Holmes a 5-1. He was trending down. Whiteside's here. I'm not that interested now that his price has come up a little bit. But the Kings are definitely a team to keep an eye on. If not the value guys, then the Aaron Fox at least. Last game is the Utah game. Final preseason game for the Jazz. They've played 2. The main starters played around 17 minutes in game 1. Mitchell played 25 in game 2. Gobert 28. Conley 27. This could be their full dress rehearsal. Donovan Mitchell at 7'6", highly in playing tournaments. Mike Conley at 5'2". Clarkson, man, he's been coming off the bench in limited minutes and just fucking balling, man. That's what he does, right? That's MO. And the price is pretty low. I think I still prefer Michael Carter-Williams and those guys over him. The usages look great off the bench. He played 22 minutes in both games, but that could be what he's looking at in general. And if this is a full dress rehearsal, there's a good chance that Conley and Mitchell play so much that it kind of phases him out even more, or he at least stays where he was. But he's in play. He's definitely in play. Bogdanovich is fine. Favors at 4-3 is kind of interesting. Let's take a look at what Favors has been. That's a real low price. 14 and 12 minutes. Hasn't looked great. He's in that whole coming off the bench, get cut short camp. But if this is a full dress rehearsal, you would want to think they'd want to get him somewhere close to 20. He just hasn't been very active necessarily. Gobert's coming off a really good game, and the Clippers are a team that we know has not been good against bigs. They're undersized. You got Zubac, who's kind of thin. You got Ibaka, who's just not that tall. So there's definitely some sizing issues, if you will, on the on this side. 7-1 for Gobert is cheap. Matchup is good. Gobert last year, in my opinion, seemed to have taken somewhat of a step back in terms of like fantasy relevance. He's not a guy that I roster the whole ton. 27 minutes against Phoenix is what he got. His usage rate was 16, and that was higher than it was the first game. And that was a nut matchup. And this is a pretty good one too. But I think I'm more interested in the guards here, if anything. Right? Maybe Conley because he's cheap at 5'2", but more so Mitchell. Right? More so Mitchell. Maybe some Clarkson action. Bogdanovich, I don't mind. On the Clippers side, another one that we're kind of leaving our head scratching. Scratching our heads. I know I said that all weird. Final preseason game for the Clippers. They played 2 games. Game 1, Kawhi saw 14. George saw 14. Ibaka saw 8. Batum saw 13. Zubac saw 18. Second game, they did see an increase. Kawhi saw 18. George saw 18. Ibaka saw 20. That was a pretty big increase. Batum saw 21. Zubac once again saw 18. Pricing wise, we'll start with that. Lou Williams at 4,600, always in play off the bench. It seems like the popular build is going to have at least one of these cheap guards. We talked about LaMelo, and that could get more interesting if he starts. We talked about Lou Will, Clarkson. There's a lot of these like 4'6", 4'4", 4'5", 4'7" type dudes, Michael Carter-Williams, who are kind of floating around. Kawhi Leonard at 8,600 seems expensive for the minutes, but Paul George is within reach. Now, the problem is Paul George has kind of like so far, I don't want to early, but he's kind of carried over that shitty performance that he had in the playoffs. He's kind of carried that over to the preseason. Usage rate has looked fine. 32.4 in game 1, 22.4 in game 2. Both games were against the Lakers. And again, he saw 18 and 14 minutes. Maybe he sees some more minutes today. It's possible he sees more minutes today. 6'9" is a really low price. I like to take the dudes whose pricing, when I see it, it just kind of pops, like Steph Curry did the other day. Final dress rehearsal. Maybe we see them get a little bit more minutes. But it's hard to envision them going from 18 to 30, right? Like, what are we thinking? 24, 25, 26? But in general, this game is the late night hammer. You feel like you want something from it. But at the same time, there's 7 games on the slate. We've passed so many good games, so many good spots on this slate. I mean, center is loaded, right? Look at these centers: Joval, Cat, Vooch. You know Joval is going to be low owned at 8,400 because you got to pass Vooch and Towns to get up to him. It's tough. You got Boogie at 6'5" today, Whiteside at 5'7". A lot of center plays. Here's okay. Wiggins Curry stack, and he bring backs Fox Hield. Yeah, Moochie, we have to keep a close eye on the situation. But yeah, Wiggins Curry stack, and he bring back players Fox Hield. I'm fine with it. I think that Wiggins to me is going to depend on Paschal because Wiggins did play the 4, and that just helps him get more involved, puts him closer to the basket, puts him in a position to get some boards, easier shots, assuming he is closer to the basket. Whiteside getting more than 15. I would think Whiteside gets more than 15. It could be 18. but maybe I would think he gets more than 15. That was from Frederick. Let's see. Trying to understand tournament play meaning. So listen. It was a great question for people who are new to fantasy sports. So there's two types of contests, right? There's cash games, which are your head-to-heads, your 50-50s, your double-ups, contests where you need to place, or usually the prize pool is consistent. Like, doesn't matter if you finish first or whatever. Like, as long as you're in the top 50% or 40% or whatever the contest is, you're gonna win a flat payout structure. First place and 40th place out of 100 is still $50, let's say. Right? So you're going for safer plays with higher floors. You're not willing to take a ton of risk because you don't have to. What's the difference of 40th or first? You're still winning $50. So you just want to make sure, get the closest path to getting there. You know what I'm saying? In a tournament, these are GPPs, tournaments, the same difference. The only difference, a tournament could be any kind of tournament. A GPP is a guaranteed prize pool, meaning that even if the contest doesn't fill, the contest is going to stay there. Some tournaments you need to some tournaments need to actually fill, they won't run. GPPs will run no matter what. But either way, they're both tournament structures. And the reason they're tournaments is because the money changes based on where you finish, right? First place gets the most, second place, second most, third place, third. So that's a tournament. You have to typically finish anywhere in the top 20, 25%, something like that to even get paid at all. So those are the differences. In those contests, you need to take more risks. You can't just play the same plays as everyone else, because if you finish in the top 50%, that's not good enough. You're trying to get to first place. So you got to do something a little bit different. Take a little bit of chances. Find something that people aren't doing. Not everywhere. It could be one or two plays that were loaned. It could be just a different build structure. It could be combinations. Maybe you play chalky players, but the combination of chalky players you play was just different from everyone else's. Whatever you got to do to be successful and get to the top, that's a tournament. You're willing to take chances. Tournaments are more risky. You're willing to take on that risk. And cash games, you're really looking for that safety. Yeah, you want upside, but floor is important. And comfort level is important. Bucci, Gobert over Jovel? Nah, I don't think I could go Gobert over him. I think I'm Jovel over Gobert. Too many good centers. Gobert falls lower on the list. Mucci, I'm stuck at center too. Yeah, there's a ton of really good options. Might have to build backwards today, but I do like Cat a lot. Obviously, I like Vooch. It's loaded. It's almost a good thing, though, that it's loaded, because otherwise we'd see crazy concentrated ownership at the center position, and I think today it may be more spread out than usual because there's so many good options. But I'm going to get out of here. I appreciate you guys. Didn't mean to make the show this long today, but it is what it is. We had a lot to discuss. So hit the like button on your way out. We appreciate you guys, Nation. If I didn't get to your questions, I apologize. I was kind of just going through my notes, looking up. I saw the chat kind of late, and looking at the time, we got to get the fuck up out of here. So I appreciate you guys hanging out with us later tonight on the pre-lock show, WiseTake.com. You can get a day pass, get Paulie D's fast break sheet, and we'll break down the slate together before lock. Remember, go check us out. For myself, the entire WiseTake Nation, as always, good luck.
Yeah.